The team are on their way into a new town as they see signs of a visiting circus. Ben becomes very hesitant and weary as he starts to worry more and more as the increasing clown faces keep showing up on signs. They see a band of circus freaks being advertised and they decide to stop and watch them before they get inside. They go into the circus and the performance begins as the team and the rest of the crowd are introduced to the crazy clown Zombozo. He begins to act and the rest of the audience start laughing their faces off. But there is just something off about this clown. It makes Ben anxious and he jets it out of the tent as Gwen follows suit. Gwen stops Ben and asks him what's wrong, chuckling about his fear of clowns. When suddenly the team witnesses a robbery taking place. They note that it's the circus freaks that they've seen before trying to ransack a nearby shop. Gwen and Ben going closer as the circus freaks going to a witchcraft shop that's nearby. Ben is ready to charge in, but he's halted by Gwen as they see an eerie figure also float into the shop. The duo peer in through the window when they realize that along with the circus freaks, there seems to be some sort of magician or wizard inside with pale skin and a glowing aura. He was there muttering something about a very specific book that he's looking for, called the Arcomeda of Spells. Gwen tells Ben that that is the only existing copy of that book and it can't be stolen as it is a precious artifact. So she tells Ben to do something and Ben summons forth Bianca as she rushes forth into the store. Bianca zooms in and starts shooting her slime projectiles at the goons inside. She nabs Frightwig and Acid Breath and is only left to face down Thumbskull. The magician in all of the confusion tries to get his hands on the book, but Gwen runs in and grabs it before he can and attempts to make her escape. Hex grabs her, levitating her into the air and slams her into the wall. He floats closer and shouts, "Give me that book, child." Bianca lands a large slime wad onto Hex, sticking him to the wall and catching a falling Gwen. He blasts away the slime and grabs the book. "I don't have time for this," he shouts and flies off as one of his charms falls off of his collar. Gwen sneakily grabs it off of the floor as Bianca looks for Thumbskull. She asks Ben where did the big guy go, but Ben visibly shows her that he's unsure. However, Thumbskull comes back with help and Zombozo finally arrives and decides to go on the offensive. Ben gets scared out of his mind when he sees Zombozo and he runs away from the store. Bianca grabs Gwen and follows Ben and Zombozo tries to attack, but he ends up with a face full of slime as the trio escape. Bianca times out and the team makes their way halfway across the street to a nearby gas station, but a large barrage of blasts emerge from the gas station store, causing a humongous explosion as Rojo comes out of the flaming building fully cyborged out. The air pressure tosses the Tennysons into an alleyway and Rojo joins Zombozo and the citywide heist would only just begin. Ben and Gwen wake up in an alleyway, confused as to what just happened. They run towards the circus when they realize that the tent is nowhere to be seen. Grandpa Max is completely dazed, but he decides to take them away to see if they can find Kevin, hopping into the RV to go to the next circus location. Ben asks his grandpa what happened inside the circus. They drive along and Max recants all the laughing and how dazed and weak he began to feel. In the middle of this storied retelling, the rust bucket is blasted off the road by a very strange laser as the team start going off course. Ben tries to take control of the rust bucket, steering themselves to safety, but it doesn't end there as Rojo descends on top of the vehicle and rips open the roof, shouting, "Where is the Chakitrix?" So now it's up to Ben and Gwen to see what they can do to save their grandpa and protect themselves. Ben runs out of the rust bucket to try to get to safety before he can summon an alien. Gwen tries to follow, but two of Rojo's girls corner her. She's stopped in her tracks and Ben is already too far gone into the forest, so she has to fall back on her combat skills, launching herself into the air at them with a flying kick. One of the girls blocks for their comrades, but the force of the kick ends up knocking out the other girl nonetheless. Sounds pretty lucky, right? Rojo gets pissed and fires off a laser at Gwen. However, Gwen dodges in the nick of time and the laser takes down the last one of Rojo's accomplices, and Gwen ducks into the woods. When suddenly, we see Tara flying out of the woods, coming directly at Rojo, screaming, "You want to fight? let's fight. They stare each other down, the cyborg versus the four-armed gladiator. Rojo tries to keep her distance with her lasers, but Tara manages to get in close and brute forces down Rojo. But she's not done. As she starts pummeling her senselessly, Ben screams out for her to stop and she halts immediately. Ben asks angrily, "Where is Kevin?" The scene flips to Kevin being locked up in another circus tent as he is drained of all his energy, and Zambozo's crew laugh maniacally. Him and Gwen finally make it to the location, and they decide that it's time to stand on business. Ben summons Pyra, but she doesn't want to help, and tells Ben to get out of there because he's an eyesore. Gwen manages to convince Pyra to assist them, and today, Gwen says she's feeling very lucky. She dons her Lucky Girl costume for the first time, and she decides that it's time for her to make a stand against these freaks. Hex also lands into the festival area, and he wants that charm, and he lets Gwen know that she isn't leaving alive without handing it over to him. Pyra tells Gwen that to let her take him on, and that she should match the bumbling idiots over there, and the battle begins. Pyra and Hex begin their very own shootout, magic blasts versus bolts of heat, and in the same breath, Gwen takes on the circus freaks, but luck is on her side. Then stray blasts from the battle close by take out Frightwig and Thumbskull, leaving only Acid Breath and Gwen in their own one-on-one. Ben runs into the tent to see if he can spot Kevin, but Gwen coordinates with Pyra as she jumps into the air to draw the attention of Acid Breath. He takes the bait and reveals himself, but Pyra counters him, blasting and charring him immediately, leaving him unconscious. Gwen and Pyra then team up on Hex, and they manage to take him down, breaking the rest of the charms. However, Gwen decides to keep her lucky charm as the rest of the venture into the Zambozo's tent continues. A loud laughing echoes throughout the room, and the team run in deeper, but they have no idea that they're being lured into his lair. Before Pyra jumps in to fight, Ben asks, "Where's Kevin?" Zambozo laughs as loud as he can and points over in the direction where Kevin is laying down, dried and tired. Gwen screams out to Kevin as she runs over toward him, but it would seem that she had too much luck. Zambozo gets in to pummel her. Pyra jumps in the way to block his punch, and the sheer force of the attack shoves Pyra into Gwen, and the impact breaks Gwen's bracelet that held the charm, knocking out Gwen and returning Pyra to the Jackatrix. Ben screams at Zambozo, letting him know that he isn't afraid of him, but Zambozo replies, telling Ben that he is going to devour his very soul. Ben decides that it's time to stand up to his fear. Before Zambozo can attack, Ben rolls over towards the charm and places it onto the Jackatrix, when it suddenly powers on and a new alien pops out of the watch, calling herself Feedback. She starts to get into battle against Zambozo, pummeling and outspeeding him at every turn, destroying his machine and taking him down, returning all the positive energy to the members of the area. Ben is in absolute awe. He has never seen an alien like this one before. She turns around and smirks at Ben as she returns to the Jackatrix. They were able to rescue Kevin and try to leave for their journey, and the rest of the crew head off to continue on their path as Gwen keeps the charm and Lucky Girl lives on. In the dead of night, Team Tennyson is fast asleep in the wee hours of 3 a.m. when suddenly the rust bucket comes under heavy laser fire from above. Everyone wakes up in shock when they are surrounded by a plethora of Vilgax drones. Ben jumps out and summons Yumeko immediately. She latches on to the drones, using them to take out each other. The rest of the team joins in trashing the drones, but Yumeko suddenly shorts out as she starts to get a vision. She sees a figure taunting her, letting her know that he is coming for the Jackatrix. She jumps off the drone in fear. Even though the team know that Yumeko isn't the bravest, they are all still bewildered. After the team defeat the rest of the drones, she relays this information to the squad, that she saw someone say that he's coming for them, and he's coming for them now. Grandpa Max gets scared and goes into the RV and tells them that they need to get out of there, that they need to leave immediately. The team drives speedily into the next morning as Grandpa Max is fully on his way to a safer place. They ask him what's the plan, and he refuses to answer them. He just keeps on driving, when suddenly a nearby beach falls under attack by a plethora of some Vilgax drones. Grandpa Max tells Ben to leave that to the authorities, and that he shouldn't draw any attention to himself right now. Ben brushes him off, and decides to do something about this, trying to summon Pyra, but ends up summoning Bonnie the Ripjaws instead, and both of them duck out the window and go towards the trouble. Ben and Bonnie get off into the beach, and Bonnie going for a plunge using her enhanced aquatic abilities to take down the drone. The rust bucket halts, and Grandpa Max grabs Ben, leaving before it gets too dangerous. They get in the RV and go away as fast as they can in order to escape, forcefully timing out Bonnie. Ben asks Max why would he do that. However, he still doesn't respond, when suddenly a giant squid-faced monster lands in the middle of the road. Max swerves around him, trying to get out of the way, as he says, "No, it's Vilgax." They ask Grandpa if he knows this guy, and he still ignores them. He tries to ignore Vilgax, but it's already too late, as Ben is already outside, and him and Pyra decide that they're going to take on the squid monster head on. Kevin jumps out to join Ben, and the battle begins. But Grandpa Max just keeps on driving, and even though Gwen tries to join them as well, Max stops her and tells her that they need to focus on the mission at hand, and that Ben and Kevin would be fine. Kevin jumps in first, trying to get in on the fight, but Vilgax one-shots him. Pyra starts an immediate barrage of fire blasts, but it's just not working. Vilgax seems like he's just immune. Pyra jumps in a hot temper to try and burn Vilgax to a crisp, but he makes quick work of her as well, timing her out and grabbing Ben, and in his frustration, he shouts that a mere child cannot be what kept the Jackatrix out of his grasp. He throws both Kevin and Ben into the ship, as he is pleased to find that there is an Osmosian on Earth as well. Grandpa Max arrives at Mount Rushmore. He reaches into a drawer and pulls out a humongous laser, letting Gwen know that he was never the kind of guy to stick to fixing pipes. They make their way towards Vilgax's ship, as he explains to Ben and Kevin, stating that he will use the Omnitrix to take over the universe, and that Kevin would be his infinite power supply. Grandpa Max flies in with the RV and blasts away Vilgax. Kevin takes the opportunity to absorb the energy, holding him captive and freeing himself, and then freeing Ben as well. But the discharge from the ship short circuits the Jackatrix, and aliens start popping out rapidly. At first to pop out of the watch is Alexandra, as she starts destroying droids. Gwen hops in with Luck on her side and starts taking down more and more drones, with Kevin backing her up as well. The team start making quick work of these droids when suddenly two familiar faces come out of the shadows. The Crabman and 6-6 join the battle along with Vilgax. Kevin finally gets his rematch against 6-6 and jumps in to take him on, while Gwen and Ben take on the Crabman. Vilgax, however, ignores the trio and charges in on Grandpa Max. He gets him down under his heel, but Ben runs in to stop Vilgax, and Tara backs him up, punching Vilgax off of Grandpa Max and jumping outside the ship to continue their battle, as the three go crashing down on Mount Rushmore. They begin to battle on the monument, but Vilgax is just too strong, and it forces Ben to try and escape. The rest of the team take down 6-6 and the Crabman and leave the spaceship. However, Vilgax has other plans. You see, Vilgax captures the rest of the team and uses them for ransom against Ben, winning him over and carrying him onto the ship, when suddenly large sirens start going off on Vilgax's Space Voyager. Ben tries to wiggle his way out of Vilgax's palm when suddenly a new icon pops up on the Jackatrix. He slams it down and a gigantic squid-faced girl spawns, and her name is Sayax. She pummels Vilgax and grabs Ben, hopping out of the ship immediately, letting Ben know that a handsome kid like him shouldn't die that easily, as the ship blows up and both Ben and Sayax land on the ground. The team meet up with Ben, and he tells Grandpa that he has some explaining to do. If you made it all the way here, thanks for watching.